Today we've got Peter and John from InTheosis, which, Peter, you've been on this podcast a number of times, mostly because of Extol stuff and Harada as well. But John, you're a brand new guest on the BlackSheep Podcast, but super stoked for this new project. Peter, you've just been like doing all sorts of music with Harada, obviously, the last couple years. It sounds like there might be some other new music that might be coming out of your camp sometime soon. We can maybe chat about that later. But new music that's happening right now in your life with John is InTheosis, which is such a killer project. I'm super stoked about, kind of where this ends up going for you guys, but so stoked about talking about it more. But before we dive into the music, how are you guys doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm quite all right. It's been a really easygoing Christmas and New Year's holiday. So just with the family chilling. So it's
any ice fishing?
Starting the no fishing, unfortunately, but I'll try to because it's been really mild here. It hasn't been freezing like it. Yeah, but a couple of more weeks with the really cold weather, and I want to go out on the ice and try to get some trouts.
Oh, very good.
Ice.
Trouts.
Love it.
Yeah. Is that a plural? Is that how you'd say that? Trouts, or is it just trout? I've always wondered this. Is it like deer or deers?
There's no S, just trout.
Just trouts. Oh,
it's like moose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Also,
John,
are you drinking from a Harada mug there? Is that right?
Oh yeah, I'm actually not trying to plug it.
That was a soft plug. You totally were.
Fair. Yeah, you knew what you were doing.
I mean,
Peter, I think last time we chatted, you said that Norway is known for your salmon. I did just smoke some salmon for New Year's Eve. I had some friends over and smoked some salmon. I've got a little smoker grill, and I have a friend. One of my coworkers was able to get some fresh caught Alaska salmon, and so I had some Alaska salmon that I smoked, and it was delightful. But are you able to actually fish out salmon out of that lake that you live, or the fjord that you live by, or is the salmon more of like an ocean thing for you all?
No, you can fish it here in the fjord, but it's not really easy.
Okay.
It's actually more up in the rivers because it comes back. It goes out to the ocean and it comes back up in the river where it was born. So that's basically where you can fish it in Norway, but you have to have a license, and it costs like shitloads of money to do it. Yeah, and it's really strict rules and everything. So yeah, I don't do it much. But
do you eat a lot of smoked salmon?
My stepfather, he fishes a lot of salmon, and he has a friend who runs where like a smokery or whatever you call it.
Yeah, wow.
So I got some really nice smoked salmon from him for Christmas.
I don't know if there's a meat that I enjoy more than smoked salmon. It might be one of my favorite types of meat.
It's great.
So good.
Yeah,
I agree. Something I've always been interested in, and I'm sorry, Peter, but you're the Norwegian that I know.
Okay.
So in the Mac family, where I'm my familial ancestry, they love Norwegian culture, even though none of them are Norwegian. And every Christmas we would have lutefisk. Is that something that actually goes on in Norway?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just like a cultural thing that like people thought that Norwegians still did, but it is true. Huh?
No. We still do it. It's like a feast, food, more or less only around the Christmas time. And I can't stand it.
I love it.
I love everything, but lutefisk, the consistency, it's just so, like, even when I get it really, really well prepared, I can't do it. But apparently a lot of people can, so yeah.
I think it's great. John, have you ever had lutefisk?
Is that the smelly one?
Yes.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's what we do in Sweden. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So guys, just so you know,
smelly one. You do the surströmming.
Sorry. Surströmming. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So just for some context, so I'm half Swedish, and I lived there for 6 years as a kid. So that's yet another kind of connection point between Peter and I. Except I was in the south of Sweden, right? So that was kind of like
Sure.
I don't know, like, if this is a good analogy, but actually, I'm not going to use the analogy because it could be offensive. So, in the south of Sweden, there's a lot of farming, and a lot, like the rest of Sweden likes to think that we're unsophisticated. And funnily enough, like the third biggest city in Sweden, Malmö, is in the south, in the state where I live. But anyway, yeah, so I lived there for 6 years. I still speak a bit of Swedish, and that's a kind of funny connection point between Peter and I.
And you still think that Blindside's better than Extol, right?
Oh, well, you know what? I
just pretend Peter's not here right now. Just pretend he's not here.
No, I sound like a suck up, but I do prefer Extol.
Oh no!
I do. Yeah, it's the. I have a little bit of prog in me, right? And Peter's working on pulling that more out of my soul, with the InTheosis stuff. But you know what? Blindside, that album, I forget what it's called, but they had one big album. I think the one that Howard Benson produced that blew him up. What was it called?
Silence?
Silence, yeah. That was a great album. Some really killer songs on that one. Yeah. But yeah.
You know, I think we should all just acknowledge for a second the modern world that we live in. Where Peter's at, it's 11 o'clock at night. Where I'm at and Mason's at, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And John, is it 9 a.m. there? Is that right?
Yeah.
In Australia?
So you're Friday. You're at Friday right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the future, baby.
I am.
That's right.
Yeah, he's in the
Time
future.
is relative.
Isn't that wild that we can just do this? Like, and you know, there's no disconnection problems or anything. We're just floating right along.
Crazy.
It is like
But
first time in human history this sort of thing has ever been able to happen. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we should talk more about food. It's much more fun than
InTheosis
and music and stuff. Yeah.
All right, well, let's do one more food-related topic then, because I am interested. What do Australians do on Christmas?
All right.
Do they eat kangaroo or what?
Okay, so do we eat kangaroo? I have one friend that probably would.
Beat the shit out of a kangaroo.
Here's a funny thing. In some places, kangaroos are actually pests. So I think they're actually allowed.
Yeah, I've heard they're like squirrels here in America.
Yeah.
I literally have I have kangaroo leather boots now, because it comes from like a place where it comes from Australia, obviously.
Yeah.
And the boots are made because there are so many that get run over that they actually use those kangaroo that get run over for their production.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. And also that they're a pest. So we have this phrase called roo shooting. Or, to say it in a more Aussie accent, roo shooting. Are you going to go
do you do that? Is that what you do at the bar in the evenings? You go try to
we get
shoot
pissed
some roos,
and then
or
we get a shotgun and go shoot some roos. No. No, so I mean, obviously, getting your hands on a gun in Australia is a lot more difficult than in America. We had the Port Arthur massacre, I think in the 90s. Anyway, after that, they legislated that it was much harder to get weapons. So, but it's easier for farmers, I think. And yeah, they have this thing where it's like, okay, we've got too many kangaroos that are destroying the crops, that are, just being a pest. Jump on the back of a ute. Let's go shoot some kangaroos.
That sounds so American, but also so Australian at the same time. I love it.
Well, that's the thing. I think there is some pretty strong parallels between certain states.
Oh my goodness!
In Australia,
of course.
like Queensland, North Queensland, for example, in Australia is kind of like, some of the more southern states in America. More conservative, more guns, more shooting.
Heck yeah.
Crocodiles, you got alligators. Yeah, so there's definitely some parallels, yeah.
Do they also have a megalomaniac president who owns a golf course there?
Well, right now, politics is a funny one right now. We've got our so-called leftist party, which isn't really leftist that leftist at all, but it's establishment leftist. They're in power right now, and he's, as you get with a lot of the leftist establishment politicians, he's a lot more well spoken than his opposition right now. But I think then there's probably a bit of a shift, just like much of the rest of the world right now, because we have a housing crisis right now and a cost of living crisis too, and so when people are afraid, nationalism and right-wing kind of rhetoric seems to work a lot better. So yeah, we seem to be having a bit of a move towards the right now. But anyway, yeah. So that's where we're at politically.
Yeah, we're only halfway done with the decade. Here we go.
Yeah.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about InTheosis. I'd love to just know how this project started for both of you. Obviously, Peter, you've been in music for quite some time. John, I don't know for you, like if you've been in bands your whole life or not, but just love to hear kind of how this whole project started.
Do you want to start it off?
Yeah. I mean, this is my version, and then John can tell his version. We met some years back at a mutual friend's bachelor's party. So John came over to Norway, and we basically just ended up, connecting straight away over some beers, and went straight down into the darkness of our souls.
Wow.
Talking about mental health issues and other
trauma,
other kinds of traumas. Yeah. So we bonded immediately, and then there were some carousels involved, and some puking, and some phones got lost.
You guys went on a carousel for a bachelor party?
That's a pretty funny story. Do you want me to take from here? Do you want to keep going, Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Peter was very responsible that night. I think he only had a few. The rest of us had a pretty decent amount of alcohol. And one of the bucks, that's what we call it here in Australia. What do you guys call it in America?
Bucks?
The buck. Like the main, the guy who's getting married.
The bachelor.
That's kind of funny, though.
Yeah, we call it the buck. Yeah.
That's way better than the Bachelor.
So Australian, isn't it?
Yeah. We just call him the dude around here.
Yeah, the buck.
The dude.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the Bachelor, one of his brothers just drank a lot, and he was a bit of a loose unit. Sorry, that's another Aussie slang for like just a crazy guy. And well, actually, before we get to the carousel story, so what happened is I drank more than Peter did, and then I lost my phone. And like this was this in Drummond or was this in Oslo? I can't remember.
No, it was Drummond.
Man, multiple cities involved even. Wow, this is a great bachelor party.
This sounds like the beginning of the Hangover.
Yeah, except
Scandinavian edition.
At what point did you guys hang out with Zach Fallon and Askus or whatever his Galifianakis or whatever?
Galifianakis.
Well, I don't know. I mean, shout out to Conrad. That's Kieran's brother. He's kind of like the Zach character, perhaps. He's the one who, just like drank way too much, ate too much, and then we were like, stumbling home, and then all of us see this like, this kind of entertainment park that was open till who knows what time, and for whatever reason, because we're all idiots, we decided to go on the most kind of hardcore ride where you're like upside down and you're just like spinning around in circles and you go up like 20 meters in the air.
Oh,
and
I believe in America that's called the zipper.
Okay.
It's classic.
Well, I met, something like that. And this guy, Zach, let's call him Zach.
Let's call him Zach.
He'd been drinking all night. He'd been going hard, and he had some hot dogs as well, I think, right before we went on the ride. And so, when it's just spitting around like that, he decided to start puking in the midst of that. So it's like projectile vomit, just like... Who knows who got hit by that?
The middle of the Sandlot. So we've moved on from The Hangover. Now we're in the middle of the Sandlot. What other movies did you guys reenact?
Well, I mean, I held my vomit in, but I waited until after. But I was just thinking these poor, like, peace-loving Norwegians just getting hit with Australian vomit.
I wasn't on the ride, obviously.
Of course, you're responsible. Yeah.
Than these other guys, and like seriously, his puke was just everywhere, and people down there. What the? Yeah, so it was fun. So that's how InTheosis.
Yeah.
Is this one of those rides where there's like two people in like one of like the carriages or cars or whatever it is that spins?
I think there was about 4 of us per carriage.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so all of you guys are just getting sprayed.
But the thing is, like, it went so high and so fast that who knows, like, how far that vomit went,
Well, Cullen, you have a similar story with me.
I do. Yeah, we were at a Jimmy Eat World concert, and Mason is just pounding the.
I had 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah,
the equivalent of 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah, and on the way home, he's riding in the passenger seat, and I'm riding in the back seat. And all of a sudden, Mason opens up the window, and he starts vomiting. And we're going 70 miles an hour down the road, and none of it goes out the window. All of it goes directly into my face and into my mouth. And I'm like, ah! It was the worst thing in the world. It was disgusting.
Yeah, but now you get to tell the whole world on a podcast about it, so it must have been, like, not that bad.
Yeah.
It's still fresh.
I lived, right? So...
I love that origin story. Like, okay, but at some point you had to realize, like, okay, there's got to be, it can't be just a puke drunk fest. Like, it's got to turn into music. So at what point did that switch happen?
Yeah, I mean, fast forward some years, and John and I had a little bit of contact after the wedding. When he went back, after a while, I think I asked you to produce some stuff for the Rada Christmas album last year.
Yeah, I think first was Pearl. You wanted some.
Of course.
Additional production for Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rada, we did the Extol Pearl cover, and John,
which I think Cullen might like more than the regular Pearl.
Depends on the mood I'm in. Yeah.
Nice. I'd been working on that cover for so long. I was like, I can't really find sort of the vibe I'm going for because everything felt wrong. And then sort of like a last resort, I was like, maybe I should ask John to... Yeah, but
let's just ask the drunken Aussie.
Maybe, No, but it's like, I don't know what to do. And then, okay, maybe I should ask John to see, if he could put some production on it to give it the vibe I'm dreaming of. And yeah, I think what you did with it it felt like something I wanted to release. So that was really, really cool. And then I guess after that we started talking a bit more every now and then, and then you joined me on some production for the Rada Christmas album, and I guess somehow we started to talking about like why you haven't done any metal.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean that was kind of part of the conversation, like your journey of coming back to music, and I think that kind of brought up the conversation as to why am I still just mostly producing hip-hop in Australia when I am a metalhead. Yeah. And then I think that was kind of like, I feel like Petter was the linchpin or the catalyst, perhaps the final catalyst of me thinking, maybe I'll ask.
The last resort.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, no. You were the final thing that propelled me into like having a crack at doing metal, because here's the thing, like, there's all kinds of things going on for me, like, which we can dig into deeper when we start talking about theology and stuff. But I think, you kind of come up with all of these reasons, like, you're like, oh, I'm in my late 30s, what's the point, because, the kind of capitalist kind of model that we have, where it's like, unless you're successful, what's the point? But, here was Petter just doing his rada and getting back into Extol and just loving music for what it was. And that was a big part of me going, oh, you know what, maybe I should do it as well. I'll make the time. And then I think because we worked so well together as friends, and there's definitely some connection points in our taste, and there's definitely other ways that we're quite different, but there are enough kind of connecting points taste wise for us to collaborate well. So yeah, that's kind of what led to the origin of InTheosis.
Wait, John, did you have any metal background then at all? Did you?
Well, here's the weird part. So I got into music, like really got into music. I still remember the first time I heard Metallica on MTV in Sweden when I was like, 11 years old or something like that. And I was like, this is so scary. It was like the film clip for Until It Sleeps, from the Load album. It's a creepy ass album. Creepy ass video clip, sorry. And, I was only 11, so I was like, what? This is really creepy, but there's something about the sound that just pulled me in. And then, I was like, went home and I was like, Dad, I want to start playing guitar. So, yeah, that was kind of the thing that propelled me into like wanting to become a guitarist, and metal was very much the genre that appealed to me most. I picked up the guitar, started learning and getting lessons and getting into like, first Metallica, Pantera, Slayer, all of that stuff, some of the grunge stuff as well. And then I'll try and make this as short as possible, because I'm sure this will come up in later conversations as well, because it's very much a part of my whole deconstruction and reconstruction journey as well. But in a nutshell, I was a metalhead, and then I had a conversion experience when I was 16, and a few years into my kind of, gung-ho evangelical Christianity, I did the cliche thing and, threw out like 90% of my music collection.
I'll burn those CDs.
Yeah, exactly. Just literally threw them in the bin. And it was a massive journey for me to kind of return back to my first love. And way longer than it should have been, because I had all kinds of psychological barriers and whatnot. But yeah, that was a big thing for me, coming back to metal and psychologically feeling okay about that, and then doing my own project. It sounds ridiculous, because I'm nearly 40. I'm 39 now, and it took me so long. And then I kept doing all these other kind of musical things in between, because it's less scary if it's, if you're just producing for someone else and you're just following a brief, it's way less scary, and you can just do it as a job, and that's what I did for so many years. I'm still doing it. I've grown to love it, but doing something, that was really from the center of my heart, which InTheosis is. Huge journey for me to be able to become brave enough. I know that sounds so ridiculous, but it was really difficult for me to become brave enough to come back to that, my first love, and go, all right, well, I need to be 100% myself, in the music, the content, the lyricism, the themes, all of it. Yeah. Anyway, Sorry, that wasn't really a short answer, but
No, it makes sense. You know, something though that I think is interesting, just based off of the songs I've heard thus far, is that time off. You were definitely cross-pollinating with quite a few different ideas. I think if you listen to the music, it feels very groovy, almost hip hoppy. I mean, obviously there's the song with Damien, which is a whole nother thing in itself, but like. There's so much more going on than what we would typically hear in, you know, the modern metal landscape. So I think that time that you did take off was not all for naught. I think that was quite useful time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that I was still able to be in the music industry, and I didn't kind of, you know, because, you know, religious trauma and trauma in general can have such power over you that even like, you know, being right on the kind of periphery of something can be difficult enough and kind of can push you away from doing it. I mean, for instance, you know, Petter just didn't want to he hated music, as he, you know, I'm sure perhaps he's told you before. I never got to the stage where I hated music. But it was still very challenging to remain in it. But I feel like all of these opportunities kept popping up, and, you know, I don't know exactly what I think about, you know, divine intervention and, you know, God presenting opportunities to you and so on these days, but it felt like there were a lot of moments where, you know, I was working in a job that you wouldn't expect to meet other people that, you know, were in the music industry, but they were, and, you know, one thing led to another, and then you know, somehow I'm back in the music industry, now producing hip hop, you know, and it's just strange things like that, you know, happen where circumstantially I just couldn't stay away from music, and I think, like, meeting all these different, you know, producers and rappers and other artists through my journey, it's definitely shaped me. Very, very much so. Yeah, especially when you consider like how much hip hop has changed, like the pop landscape in the last 10 years too.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
For sure.
So yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's funny you use the word groove. Because I think groove has always been something that I've loved, and, you know, Petter likes to take the piss out of me because I love new metal, right? But and I don't care, like, I'll cop it because I'm loud and proud about loving new metal. But one thing they got right, you know, sure that, you know, there's a lot of like kind of like whiny, immature lyrics and whatnot, but what they did get right was groove, you know, like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So well done.
Go listen to Mudvayne and tell me that that's not awesome groove music, right?
Exactly, you know, like Korn's first album, you know, there's
for
so
sure.
much
Fieldy was
groove in
amazing.
that, you know, and like it makes sense that David the drum was influenced by Primus, and you know, and I mean John Otto from Limp Bizkit, he was a trained jazz drummer, and you can hear it, you know, it's just so much groove. So yeah, definitely, to come back to your question, it really has shaped me a lot. And it's also shaped me in terms of like, not like my worldview as well, in terms of not just doing this kind of living in a binary, but being able to see beyond, you know, the kind of cultural divisions that Christians often draw, and realizing, hey, like, these things are not at all, and I would argue even scripturally, like, it's not meant to be that way at all either. And just seeing the creativity and the sacred in everything, you know, not just like this tiny little holy huddle. But yeah.
You know, Peter, going back to you for a second, I did kind of get like this vibe of reluctance. I mean, and we did talk about how you know, you weren't really vibing with music at all for a while there. We had you on last time, and we talked Harada and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, it was like, I don't know, a week or two later, all of a sudden, here's InTheosis. I'm like, well, what the hell? Why didn't you tell us about this? This stuff is amazing, and it just came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like there's not just a little bit of new interest in all these new ventures that you're a part of, but a lot of interest. And it seems like it's some of the most heartfelt and straightforward kind of Peter Espevoll that we've ever seen. So where did that change happen for you? What was the really big catalyst that all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm back in full force?
I think actually I touched a little bit on it. One of the other times I talked with you guys, but like music for me, I was 100% sure that I would never do music again, ever.
Yeah.
I was so fed up with the whole thing, and everything was so tied up to my faith, and starting as a worship leader as a 14-year-old kid, which is the same time I started Extol. Everything is just like blended together with faith and music, and being sort of like this being like a calling from God, and it's so tied up to your to who you are as a person. And then to me, like suddenly when my life kind of fell apart at some point around 2006. Music just went away, and then everything else went away. Like it was like the rug was just pulled out from beneath you.
Kind of like, if I can interrupt really quick, kind of along those lines too. Do you feel like even just like your appearance changed because of that? Like I remember like the first time I had ever seen you, like again knowing you from what you looked like in Extol, and then seeing you, and I remember like I think Cullen and I like commented, it's like you're just like, you look like a dad now. Like you just look like a guy who has like grass stains on his like white New Balances or whatever. Like you look like so much like a dad now, and I'm like, it feels so different than what you would have been like in Extol, where I can imagine like if you're sort of wanting to remove yourself, especially from Extol, like you're physically going to like look different too. I would imagine maybe like that's a part of that processing for you to like navigate, just like trying to remove yourself from something that maybe at some point became a little harmful in your own life.
Yeah, sure. Probably some of those years were a little bit of that for sure. But now, like when you guys first met me, I'm just an old dad. So
you are. It's not even an act anymore. You just are.
No, so that's just how it is. Anyway, when I turned 40, I hadn't done any music for like 10 plus years. Of course, I did the Extol album, the Extol album. But that was it was a okay experience, but it didn't come as much from my heart as it probably should have. So like for me, I had been sort of not doing music for a very long time, and I had a big party for my when I turned 40, and me and a friend, we sang Old Friends Bookends by Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
And for the first time in so many years, and like even before I quit music, like I it was like the feeling of autopilot all the time and just not authentic at all. And like for the first time in so many years, I was like, wow, this was like, it was just one song and it was just for fun. And it was just like really simple, but it felt so genuine, like it came from my heart. And that's really sparked something inside of me. And then, me and that friend, we started Rada together. And what really sparked my like sort of the volcano eruption during the COVID times was actually your president, Donald Trump. Because I was sitting here in Norway, not able to talk to anyone or meet anyone. and he was running for re-election, and the shit that went on, for that last year before that election, that was just mind-blowing.
Well, I remember the first Reichardt album is a lot about that kind of political climate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was like I guess like an inspiration to express myself, or like I had to express myself somehow, and luckily for me, music came back into my life with full force.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm not joking. This is 2019. Like that's 5 years. It still feels like a volcano eruption within me of creativity. It doesn't stop. It's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but what I still struggle to understand is there was some damaging parts of this idea that, hey, I have to do this for God because I've been called or I've been chosen to do this or whatever. And the projects now still that you're a part of have at least some adjacency to theology or to religion of some sort, right? So when you're looking at it that way, do you have like that same anxiety about the early days at times based off of that?
No.
Good.
Not so much now. I have gone through a long process of just deconstructing my faith and going through, working through some traumas, and I think I'm at a place now where I have quite a lot of peace and rest when it comes to this for myself, and whatever I express or we express with InTheosis, or what I express through Rada or anything else lyrically, it's sort of reflecting my journey and where I am right now, and that's also probably going to change for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk more like faith and theology stuff, but before diving into that, is most of the screaming in some of these songs you, Peter? What is it?
Screaming a little bit as well.
Oh, okay, nice. What is it like for you to go to what's it like for you to go back into screaming?
No, that's it's like riding a bike, right? It's you've done it since you were a kid, and it's all good.
It's funny because we have talked to some who've been doing this for a long time that say that they can't do it anymore.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they suck.
We'll be sure to tell them that Peter Espevoll says that they suck.
No. It's like, to me, it's. I've been doing it a little bit with Extol as well, right? Because we're like last year we released a couple of Extol songs, and we're working on new material for Extol as well. So yeah, it's there.
I will say I'm a little surprised that there's going to be new Peter Extol stuff, because, gosh, Bruce killed it at Furnace Fest, and I was convinced he was going to become the new lead singer of Extol.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint you.
Did you watch any of their set? I thought.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I thought Bruce killed it. He was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was in Norway. I'm not doing live with Extol. I will never do it again. But I'm doing everything else. I'm doing studio and booking and blah blah blah. So I'm very much involved still. But it was the first show in the US for 19 years, right?
Yeah.
So it was exciting. And of course, I had a little bit of FOMO, as one should. But so I think
you would have been able to
on
hang
stage,
out with Cullen and I feel like that's got to be worth the ticket, right?
Yeah, come on now.
You guys need to come here. We'll hang out.
Yeah, we should.
I seriously, I want to go to Norway so bad.
Same here.
Well, I hear you say that, but nothing is happening.
Okay, well,
we're out of money.
Hey, I'm one of those people though. I love doing like the Google Flight Tracker thing. So I will put on. I'm guessing Oslo would probably be the cheapest place to fly into. I will put right after we're done with this. I will put Oslo on my Google Flight Tracker, and I'll start seeing if there's any cheap flights to go.
Hell yeah.
Excellent, my friend. You are very welcome. Anyway, I was I think it was like 3 or 4 at night in Norway when they went on stage on Furnace Fest, and I was on my phone just refreshing the Instagram stories so that I could see people tagging Extol. So I was on the Extol account on the Instagram and just like refreshing to see. And then basically I got to see the whole set because like there was like hundreds of stories.
Probably in like
you know,
live time too.
Yeah.
Lifetime. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was funny.
What a good.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. It's got to be interesting to like see somebody that is like singing your parts. But I would imagine you love Bruce enough where it's like if anybody's gonna sing any like Extol stuff from you, it's got to be Bruce.
It's got to be Bruce. It's lovely. And I mean, Elijah Mullins also, he did some live shows with Extol as well. So yeah, both of them are really, really lovely guys. And of course, Bruce, like he was my hero when I, got into.
I do love that like Bruce is old enough where like he's a grandpa now, basically. I mean, I don't know if he's actually a grandpa, but he's like at that age where he could be.
Yeah.
And he's still killing it at grandpa age.
Yeah. So I mean, he was a huge influence, DJ, of course, the first vocalist, like on Non-Existent and in Habit. Like I was just blown away by Living Sacrifice back in the days. So yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about some faith and theology stuff. I normally try to avoid asking a band the question, why the band name? Because I think it's a very boring question typically. However, knowing for both of you, like it sounds like you both kind of like grew up in maybe like a conservative religious environment and like things have changed in your faith and theology and everything. Why the band InTheosis? And I'm really curious, like, why the in Theosis? I'm just really curious, just the name in general. So I don't know who can speak to that, but I'm really just curious around the name and like what maybe was behind or what's the story behind that name.
So my faith started falling apart when I was a missionary in 2008.
Okay.
And I left that position and started, a decade-long wrestle with trying to see if there's anything that I could hold on to still, or if there was a way of reapproaching my faith in a way that felt like it wasn't dangerous and damaging to me and a lot of people around me, and B, it was life-giving, and C, that it had some intellectual legs to stand on. And I ended up that year, in part through one of the friends that I had met, who was a Coptic Christian, started discovering like the Eastern Fathers like Athanasius and Gregory of Nyssa and a whole bunch of others. And that began, the decade-long process of me going, okay, like this sort of like this conservative evangelicalism that I had inherited in part, and I mean that's a bit of a complicated story because my parents, especially my dad, has a way more complicated faith than just being an evangelical. He's retired now, but he was a theologian and a minister, and the two of them were missionaries. So I was born into this, right? But my dad's theology was definitely more sophisticated than the one that I stepped into once I converted myself as a teenager. But so kind of jumping back into my deconstruction, the faith that I had really grabbed a hold of was, pretty much like a form of fairly extreme conservative evangelicalism, and extreme in the sense that it was very, I call it extreme now, having, way more knowledge of the kind of spectrum of Christianity and theology out there, but it's discovering these Eastern Fathers kind of woke me up to the fact that, hey, like we have this ancient faith that is so much deeper and compelling to me anyway than the last few hundred years. That you get from evangelicalism, and that's not to diss like Wesley and William Booth and a bunch of those guys that are amazing, but I guess the current manifestation of conservative evangelicalism is in my mind is pretty piss poor, and discovering these Eastern Fathers, diving into Trinitarian theologians like Barth and the Torrance brothers and Moltmann and so on, and then later on discovering Brad Jersak, David Bentley Hart, just tons and tons of different theologians.
Not to toot my own horn, but I am cited in a Brad Jersak book.
Yes! That's awesome. Yeah. Brad's he's been very helpful in me kind of reconstructing my faith. But once I came across the concept of theosis, it kind of it's like the light bulb went on, and I realized, hey, like that sort of trajectory, or that sort of telos, the purpose of humanity is to become divine, and for us to participate in the divinity of Christ, but then to become divine ourselves through all of the hardships and all of the suffering that we face, made so much more sense to me than the sort of judicial framework that I'd been handed of like, hey, which especially, from a Calvinist perspective was just so messed up on multiple levels, whether you're talking about the atonement or whether you're talking about election or whatever. And you're realizing that this wasn't some sort of kind of, game for God where you were a puppet. And he's like just playing with all of his puppets, and like, that it's more so this sort of cosmic drama that you're a part of, and that through your own sense of agency, but also you're working towards having that agency liberated so that you can choose what is truly good, to kind of paraphrase David Bentley Hart, that was way more compelling to me. So the process of becoming more divine, more like you're truly called to be, and then being in that process of theosis, that's kind of how the phrase for me came about. You're in theosis, you're in this process of theosis. So I brought that to Petter, and he liked it. And sorry, I hope that didn't sound too convoluted, but I'm trying to like kind of summarize and condense all of these like years and years of thoughts that somehow became this band name.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very Protestant in a lot of ways. Like I find Protestantism, especially in terms of its ecclesiology, really compelling. However, I'm very much like the kind of Christian where there's parts of Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy that I find very compelling as well. And certainly for me, in terms of Eastern Orthodoxy, to me one of the most compelling things that Eastern Orthodoxy has contributed to the breadth of and richness of Christian tradition is theosis. I just find that an extremely compelling theological concept, and I'm very grateful for the Eastern tradition for contributing that to Christianity, because I just find it extremely compelling.
Yeah. Word.
How about for you, Peter?
Yeah, I was gonna say. There we
go. How about what for me? I mean,
what does the name mean for you?
I mean, I'm not a theologian, and I don't speak so eloquently as John does, but to me, like this process of life, which we are, a part of and walking through, becoming more and more whole. I guess that's my hope anyway. Mm-hmm. That as I walk through this life, all the hardships that I go through makes me more whole. To me, that's theosis. That's a process that I'll be in until the day I die. And I think we talked about, like, thematically that we wanted to be, before we had the band name also, that we wanted to be real in our lyrics about, stuff that we're going through and the processes that we have gone through and are going through. So yeah, just makes a whole lot of sense to have that as a name. Yeah.
Cullen, asked you earlier about, like, there's so much theology still in the lyrics that you're writing, especially in a band like this. And obviously the theology of a band like InTheosis is so much different than, when you were first writing in Extol. And so I'm just curious, like, when you're writing like very theological type of lyrics, maybe for both of you, because I think, are both of you kind of writing lyrics?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we brainstorm. Yeah, so far I think Petter does most of the writing, but it comes out of a lot of discussions that we have, and then yeah.
And then I write some lyrics, and then you make them better. Yeah, thanks.
I don't know.
He's got to make sure that there's no heresy in them, right?
Oh well, gosh. I mean, we've already been branded as heretics, so that ship's gone.
Hey, that's metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, with, like, having theosis as a concept, or having that, like, part of the name, what's funny to me is, like, there are a lot of metal bands, even, like, non-Christian metal bands, that will use Christian concepts or theological concepts as their name. And like Orthodox, for example, I've heard that as, like, a band name. It's funny to me, like, to me, like, theosis, like, it does sound kind of metal, but when you, like, think of the actual concept of it, it's like, it sounds like it should be, like, an indie band or something. Like, it's just it's not, like, super metal at all in its concept, but, like, the word itself feels very metal.
It's kind of the opposite of metal, isn't it? Like, metal is all about death and decay, right? And then, like, theosis is, like, the opposite. It's about flourishing, becoming more divine.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, to me, it should be like an indie pop name or something.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that as our next single, Petter.
I would actually, Peter, you'd have actually a great voice for indie pop, I think.
And you look like an indie pop artist now.
Yeah, with just the, like, slightly shaggy hair.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah, no, I mean,
opening for Two Door Cinema Club or something here soon. And then we lost Peter.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you are.
He's just deep in contemplation.
I think, to me, like, those lyrics, I would say, to me, are, again, a little bit like I said about the name. I care more about talking about my life than talking about something theological, if you understand what I mean.
Sure. Yeah.
But I also like that. I think you, John, you're very good at sort of putting this into this framework that we are within the themes and the theological themes that we have decided to sort of incorporate as some of our expression and imagery and stuff like that. So yeah, but to me, it's not really a goal to me personally, it's not a goal to sort of make this something theological in some way. I just want to write lyrics about my life and how I see things.
For sure. I mean, it makes sense to me that there's kind of this this interesting, like, play between you guys. You you got a couple different perspectives, not only of life but also of religion and of family and friendship, all this. I mean, you guys are very, very far apart, but also very, very close together in many ways, which is it's very interesting to see how you guys play off each other, because I think it creates a very, very dynamic relationship that comes through in the music. And I think that's what Mason and I appreciate about InTheosis. But I think what everyone's really wondering is, how much InTheosis are we going to get? Are we going to get more?
Oh yeah, there will be more. We are working on our fourth single as we speak, with a very special guest.
Oh. Is it Mason?
Celine Dion? Really? Wow.
Who?
Celine Dion?
You know who Celine Dion
Yes.
is, right? Okay, I was going to say, holy buckets. I thought she was worldwide.
Yeah, no, and we're working on, we got some ideas laying around, and also some new ideas in the writing, and so our plan is to release an album, hopefully during this year.
Awesome.
By the end of the year, if life will have it that way. Yeah. And how many singles we will release before the album? I don't know. Maybe a couple of more. Let's see. And then we're gonna be rich off of those songs, and do whatever we want in life after that.
Yeah,
I love it.
Just buy a few yachts.
You're never too old to dream,
a couple
right?
of yachts.
There might the only chance that might be the case is if you guys like go new metal.
Well, I mean, there's some songs that kind of play with it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny, isn't it, that new metal renaissance that's happening right now.
I love it. I'm a big fan. I am so happy about it.
I think Peter and I might be on the same ship here. Well, you guys can hang out on your own boat over there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Is this some sort of music genre we're talking about? I haven't heard of it.
It's just new.
I'm not sure what you guys are
but they spell it weird. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's strange.
Just imagine all the good music in the world, Peter, in one genre.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
I know.
All right. Well, speaking of a lot of great music, let's get into our top music here. For Peter, it's going to be bands that he should like on paper but really doesn't. So.
And it's going to be really. So I'm just going to go.
Okay.
I'm just going to be rude. I'm just going to.
It's not rude. Go.
Metallica, Iron Maiden, Metallica.
Whoa, you picked the same band twice.
Yep.
I mean,
that's how much I hate them.
Oh wow, that hurts, man. Far out.
Dang.
I mean, you could argue that there are basically two Metallicas. There's there's the better version that was earlier on, the thrash version.
And
then there's like the even worse of the worst version afterwards. And Peter hates both of them, which is amazing. And I can't say I quite get on board with the Iron Maiden. I can kind of get on board with Metallica at times, but
Iron Maiden is the most boring band ever in the history of humankind and the universe.
Okay, I agree with like 80% of that. But Bruce Dickinson's voice is one of my favorites because it's fun to try to like match him. All right, well, good, Peter. I think you pretty well nailed it.
Thanks.
You need to be a music critic.
Yeah.
Oh, I can continue on if you guys want more.
Yeah, we might as well take at least two more.
I will,
but it can't be Metallica two more times.
No. Oh, I'll be nice. No, I'm done.
You're such a Norwegian. All right. Straight to the point and mostly polite about even things that they hate, which is it's pretty great.
Including the Swedes. You're nice enough to let a Swede in your band. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys want to plug? Obviously, there's a few singles already out. Sounds like a new single is going to be on the way here soon. But yeah, what do you guys want to plug?
Just hope people want to check out the songs that we have out and be on the lookout for new things coming. We have merch.
Yeah.
If anyone
And it's sick, by the way. Also, all the artwork so far on all the singles there, it's so sick. It's so well done.
I agree, 100%.
Awesome. Thank you. So check out the merch. If you want to support us in that way, that's awesome. I have some new music coming out with Rada this year as well.
Nice.
Working on a new full-length album together with a guy from Canada.
Wow.
You are Mr. Worldwide, aren't you? Pitbull needs to step aside. Yeah, I tell you what.
My wife is a little bit upset about this, to be honest. Like I'm like having these kind of meetings or interviews or sessions whenever.
I thought she just had like a hatred for Canadians or something like that, but that makes more sense.
No. Yeah. We are writing a full album about death.
Nice.
So that's the theme on the new Rad album. Yeah. So and of course, as I said earlier, Extol. Be on the lookout for new Extol songs coming soon to your ears. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be pretty awesome. So yeah,
you guys got a mug. Nice.
InTheosis, InTheosis it's gonna be some really cool songs coming up, and I think we're kind of I think you said it that that our differences are sort of coming all nicely together with a bunch of quite varied songs, but within sort of this semi-progressive modern metal expression, which I really love it. I really enjoy the things that we do. So hopefully, check it out, everyone.
Anything else you'd like to plug?
And we are going to the US with InTheosis, and we are going on the Warp Tour.
Nice.
Oh yeah, there are a couple Warp Tours coming up now. I saw. It's coming back.
It's coming back, baby, and we're on board.
Nice. Yes. So InTheosis, you're like, yes, but you're like Extol, no, never live again, huh?
Well, of course.
Makes sense. Who wants to hang out with Oli and those guys anyway?
So hope to see everyone there.
Well, Peter and John, super stoked about all the new music coming out of InTheosis. Just really stoked about it. It's so great. We're just already big fans. So thanks so much for chatting about it, and hopefully we can hang out with you guys again.
For sure. And in Norway next time, yeah?
And in Norway. Good. I'll try to be there as soon as I can. I'm telling you, right after this, Google Flight Tracker.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.